Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Councilmember Eric Dinowitz. We are joined by Assembly Member Jeff Dinowitz, Farrah Rubin from the Bronx, there she is, Bronx Community Board 8, and a number of residents in North Riverdale. We're at the site of where just a few days ago, there was a really terrifying hit and run where a young girl was injured. And this isn't a unique experience in this neighborhood. Every day when residents walk to and from school, to and from the bus stop, when they walk home, they live with fear that they're going to be hit by a car. Imagine every day walking the street, crossing the street, and thinking that you may be injured or worse. This is a well-founded fear. In the past 5 years, there have been 22 car crashes just in the areas between Riverdale Avenue and Broadway and 259th Street and 263rd Street. 22 crashes and 31 reported injuries. I say the word reported because there are a number of other injuries we know may not be reported. And so in response to this, with the help and working with community members and Assemblyman Jeff Dinowitz, 100 community members got together and signed a petition and said, we want safety improvements, common sense safety improvements in our neighborhood, like four-way stops and speed humps, things that are proven to slow traffic and keep us safe. And we requested with the Department of Transportation to do a study and to install these life-saving measures, four-way stop signs and speed humps. They came back to us last year and they said no. To every single intersection, they said no. And I want to read to you just some of the things they said they look for. They look for volume. That means the number of cars. And they look for crash experience, previous crashes. That tells me two things. One, they are waiting for more people to get injured or worse before taking action. And they look at volume, but not speed. So they specifically did not measure how quickly cars were going up and down these blocks. Again, the data I shared does not include along Riverdale Avenue or along Broadway. Between Riverdale and Broadway and 259th and 263rd Street. And so today, we are calling on the Department of Transportation to install four-way stop signs and speed humps in this area so we can prevent crashes like the one we saw just a few days ago and other injuries that we've seen in the past few years. I'll mention one other thing they don't measure. They don't measure the children who almost get hit. They don't quantify that. It's not reported, they don't get it. And we do not want to wait for more injury or death before the DOT installs these life-saving measures. We're going to call up a few people. I'm going to start with Assemblyman Jeff Dinowitz to talk about this really important issue.
Thank you, Councilmember Eric Dinowitz. So, this community from Riverdale Avenue to Broadway, 263rd to 259th, it's actually a relatively small portion of my district, yet the vast majority of calls and emails we get concerning traffic safety come from right here in this neighborhood in the northern part of Riverdale. And there's a reason for that. There are more drivers who are flagrantly violating rules, certainly endangering people, and the fact that simple measures can be taken to improve safety and yet is not being done is really outrageous. Now, I understand DOT, doesn't want to put traffic control signs on every intersection because it costs a little bit of money. But spending a little bit of money is far more important than not spending the money and risking further potential tragedy. Now, the DOT uses certain criteria, as the council member just stated, but this is a quiet residential neighborhood of single-family homes. You're not going to have a huge volume. So I had said to DOT, you got to look at other things. You know, volume, schmolume, frankly, the volume is not what's important here. What's important here is that the smaller volume than what their criteria, what they require, doesn't protect people. The standards that they use are minimum standards. It doesn't mean that they're banned from putting in stop signs. They have the option of doing that if they want. And we have community board members and residents here who've experienced this directly. We know people who, on Riverdale Avenue, somebody who was killed not so many years ago. We don't want to see any more injuries or deaths here within this neighborhood. And you know, people say, they say all the time, the only time DOT will put in a traffic signal or a stop sign is if somebody's killed. Well, I hope that's not true, but we certainly want to make sure that it isn't true. So asking for the four-way stop signs at each of these intersections and asking for speed humps are a relatively inexpensive way to protect the people of our community, and that's what we're asking for. That's what we're right here in the northern part of Riverdale.
Thank you, Assemblyman. The DOT is a citywide agency. They may not know every single square block, every single part of every district in New York City. So who do we rely on? We rely on local elected officials and local active community members to make sure the DOT knows exactly what safety measures need to be put where. And so I want to call up one of the most active women I know in the local area, and a member of Bronx Community Board 8, the former chair, and a member of the Broadway Community Alliance, Laura Spalter.
Hi, thank you for that. People are speeding like crazy, and this neighborhood needs mitigation. They're speeding, they're coming down from the Hebrew Home, tons of traffic. They're going to Broadway. The side streets are getting a lot more traffic with the refiguration of Broadway. You need absolute mitigation. We can't wait for more accidents. Like the Assemblyman and Councilman said, it's ridiculous. Your studies are irrelevant for a quiet neighborhood like this. And I hope that you heed them, and I hope that we get some mitigation and avoid accidents in the future. Thank you.
And just to highlight a few of the areas, we do have the Hebrew Home. Down this way we have a Catholic school not too far on Riverdale Avenue, a Jewish day school off of 259th Street, and of course Riverdale Avenue and Broadway are two main thoroughfares, with Broadway leading to the 1 train. So a lot of stuff happening in the neighborhood and in between. I want to call up one other person, a person who lives in the area and every day walks with her and her kids and her dog and crosses the street and just hopes for the best. I want to call up Shanine Halpert.
This is such a critical issue for us. This is my next door neighbor, Anne Marie, and we live a couple blocks down. Every day is, it's very concerning that I can't let my kids walk around the neighborhood alone. Their independence is completely being stifled because of this issue. Also, right when we moved in 2 years ago, my husband was hit by a car in the first week of us living here, right on Liebig and 259. The cars are racing everywhere. I've watched cars get into car accidents. I hear it. I work from home some days. I hear the car accidents happening regularly. I've been here for 3 years and it's not gotten better.
Thank you, Shanine. Does anyone from the press have any questions? Yeah.
For the councilman, I think, so the main ask here is stop signs and speed humps.
Four-way stop signs and speed humps, yes.
So I'm curious because speed humps, they're kind of, the effectiveness of them can be questionable because sometimes drivers speed up after a speed hump again. Other measures that have proven a lot more effective, like road narrowings, removing and parking at corners so people can see people, like drivers can see pedestrians see drivers. Why not include some of those kind of asks in this one?
If you walked on any of these too narrow to narrow anymore. If you have a FedEx delivery and a car, the narrowing it would certainly lead to more crashes. That I can tell you. This is the request of the community. The DOT has on their own website speed humps as traffic calming measures, and so we are simply taking what they have on their own website, four-way stops and speed humps, and asking them to implement those measures that again they promote on their own website.
And how about daylight and like corner parking? Is that something you support? There's a bill in the council right now, and you're not signed on. Do you support stuff like that?
Daylighting has to be done corner by corner. It cannot be universal. It cannot be everywhere because different neighborhoods and different corners and intersections have different needs. This community is making their needs clear. Speed humps and four-way stop signs. Any other questions? Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it.